Hey folks, SC Closer here, friends call me Vic, and this is another episode of Vic Sea Stories and Tall Tales. Today I'm going to call this one the Sea Bat story. Okay, I got to have some of these stories in here once in a while. If you remember my Port List story, this one's going to be very similar. When we were on deployment, before we got to Okinawa, so this is the first stop we made, so already in the first week of the deployment, these things have already started up. Okay. In the ship's newspaper, they ran a story about the sea bat. Okay. And the sea bat is this creature, is like this giant bat. Okay. And it's only around the Okinawan Islands, and maybe some other little areas in that part of the world. And that they're very rare and very few people get to see them. But that's where, they live and exist. And they're some spectacular thing. And they start running this story in the ship's newspaper, and you start hearing people talking about the sea bat. And asking people if they'd ever seen a sea bat. And you get these older guys, that had been in the Navy a while and stuff. And they would start telling stories about how they saw the sea bat, when they were in Okinawa or nearby there, or Japan or something. They come up with all these crazy stories about the sea bats. So, I'm suspicious already. Something's not right about this, because this is, and you can tell. Only the most gullible fall for these things, folks. Okay. So anyway. So we're off, we're near Okinawa now. I think we may have pulled in Okinawa first before all this happened. I don't remember. But I think maybe it was after we left Okinawa. Of course, it may have happened before we got there. I don't remember. But we were near Okinawa. And I was on watch down in main control. And I heard them come over to 1MC. And I think it was the XO or the captain or something. And it was like, we have captured a sea bat, and that the bosun mate, the ship's bosuns, got it down there in the forecastle, and that they managed to capture one, and that if anybody wanted to see the sea bat, that they go on up to the forecastle area. If you weren't on watch or something and you wanted to see the sea bat, go up to the forecastle. And, and they'll let you see it. Now, come on, guys. This is just ridiculous, okay? It's just ridiculous. And we were just laughing about it down there in main control. And the engineering officer to watch, it's like, hey, is anybody on watch want to go see the sea bat? We'll get a relief for you or something. You know, they're not going to relieve you from watch for this, okay? You just know it. And so I knew it. I mean, I suspected it was a scam to start with, all right? But people were going, mostly the newer guys that were kind of like green to this kind of stuff. And they went up there. Now, I didn't go up there, so I didn't get this firsthand. But I was told by somebody that was up there, that was in on it, they were up there, and they said that people came up there, and they had, 10 or 15 people that were pretty gullible, and they went up to the forecastle to see this sea bat. Well, they kind of kept them back a little bit, and they said, okay, well, only one can go at a time. And so they had like a little rope or something. They made everybody wait, and they made sure they stayed far enough away that they couldn't see what was going on. And so they would let them go one at a time, and they would go up to a little paint locker or something that they had up there in the forecastle area, which was all the way at the front of the ship, And they say, yeah, we got the sea bat in here, And so they had this big box, and they had a blanket or something over it, and they had people standing there like they were holding the sea bat, And and they told them to say, yeah, you go on up there and look in the box. They said they're holding them. It's fine. It's safe. You can go up there and look at it. So they walk up there and they lean over to look in the box to see the sea bat. And somebody comes up behind them with a piece of fire hose and whacks them in the butt. And it was like, did you see the bat? Because it was like a bat, you know, it's like hit them in the butt. It was like, did you see the bat? And they laugh at him. All right. And they say, okay, don't tell nobody. And then they leave. And they had these people coming in, one after the other. I think they said there was only about maybe 15 people. And we had a crew of over 600. Some of these were Marines, okay? Some of them were Marines. They didn't know. And so they got suckered too. And it may have been more than that. I just don't think it was really all that many. And so they said they had this one guy, and I think this guy was a Marine, okay? Not to pick on Marines, but this one guy was a Marine. And he went up there, and he looked in the box, and they came up behind him, and they hit him. And they said, you see the bat? And then he turned, and he looked at the guy, and he turned back, and he looked back in the box. And he said, they hit him again. And said the guy turned around and said, would you quit doing that? I'm trying to see the sea bat.